welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about the Peachy Podcast, which is a podcast we've got with BBC Radio 1 that goes live every week. I know. Have we told you enough about it? Haven't we stopped talking about it enough for you to know? If you don't, the links are all down below. This is your chance to go and click on it before we reveal some fun things. But the first episode the BBC asked us to make was about K-pop. So we work with our producer Lucy. I'm going to find a picture to put in from Instagram. So we work with our producer to come up with the episode. So we educated her about K-pop. And if you aren't aware, the BBC also released a documentary about BTS with Adele Roberts, who we've also had on this channel before. You've probably seen that video. If you haven't, that will also be linked up here or down there somewhere. Where you been? And then we decided, hey, who would be the best first guest for this episode? BTS. Well, after BTS, got 7. No, okay, Adele. Oh, Adele. And with another album on the horizon, Love Yourself, Tear. Or is it Tear? It's Tear. We had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Steve Aoki. Hang on. Stop the clock. What? Steve Aoki? You don't just be like... We were very, 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 very lucky to speak to Steve Aoki, who... Steve Aoki. Steve... He'd sort of accidentally slipped up in previous interviews saying that he had a forthcoming project with BTS. In our interview with him, he slipped up again, and there is an exclusive in that podcast that no one in the world knew until we interviewed Steve. So we had to sit on that information for a month, and I was like, please Steve, do not accidentally reveal this to anyone else. And he didn't. We had it. The first podcast episode did brilliantly, thanks to all of you. Without further ado, here is the footage of us chatting to Steve Aoki, and there is also a preview of what the podcast entails. I hope you like it. We really love doing it. It's taking up all of our time at the moment, and it's the best project we've ever worked on. Please rate and review the podcast on your favourite podcast server, like iTunes or Google Play. I don't know. Basically, you can review it on iTunes, but I don't know what the process is with Android.
This is a podcast from the BBC.
Hello! Hi, I'm Nicky.
I'm Sammy, and we've got something to confess to you. We are twins.
Yep, that's a fact. And we're starting this Peachy Podcast for your ears' delight.
I'd call it a comedy podcast, but I don't want to give you expectations. So what I like to do throughout life at different points is to
lower them.
Lower my expectations. And then you can never be disappointed. So not only should you expect the worst, but also stay tuned for more each week. This is the first episode of the Peachy Podcast, and it's going to be on K-pop.
Another confession for you, I am obsessed. I've been listening to BTS. Well, we've been listening to BTS, K-pop in general, for over a year. I'd like to say I'm an expert.
I've been obsessed with K-pop for about 2 years. One particular band, BTS.
I had a little chat with Mr. Steve Aoki, and he gave us some... I don't want to say exclusive, Sammy.
He did. No, it wasn't exclusive.
Yeah, he gave us some tidbits of information about his collabs with BTS and his work.
Yeah.
That I think you might want to stick around for.
Yeah. I will tell you now. It wasn't just remixes. We are now joined by the lovely Adele Roberts. Hi, Adele.
Hi. So good to be here. Thank you so much for having me in.
No, thanks for agreeing to it. No one else agreed, so...
Yeah. No, Adele, we need to have you on this because you're a K-pop expert, aren't you?
Well, not as good as you boys, but I'm trying to learn.
You're a BTS expert.
Yes, I have touched BTS. I have been in the vicinity of BTS.
Okay.
They'll stop rubbing it in.
Okay, I hugged Jimin. He's my bias. I don't know if he enjoyed it, but he let me do it.
Doesn't matter. You enjoyed it, and that's what counts.
I enjoyed it.
So, a bit of background information. Adele made a wonderful documentary for Radio 1, and it was your trip to kind of behind the scenes of K-pop in a way, and just exploring it, what it is for the Radio 1 audience that might not be like totally aware of that. And you went to Seoul. You got to explore South Korea. We are very jealous of that. So it's like, we'll get Adele on so she can talk to us about it again and like make us feel even worse about not going. So we just thought we'd bring you on because we're going to talk about BTS and we're going to talk about K-pop. I just think we couldn't think of anyone else we'd rather have on with us.
Thank you. And thank you for everything that you do spreading the word for BTS and also K-pop in general. I love your feed. I think you're very funny, but also always positive. And that's a good thing about K-pop that I've learned. The pop's always got a good message, and I like that.
How prolific were other bands were you aware of when you were there? Because obviously you're going in kind of a BTS angle because that's your way in.
Yeah.
So was you aware of other stuff while you were there? Was you made more aware while you were there?
Yeah, Girls' Generation, EXO, that you guys support a lot. Also, there was a track called Gashina, and I can't...
Sunny, Gashina.
Yes, I love that song. It's my
Such
song.
a good song.
Yeah.
And this is when you get to hear
hear the exclusive, Adele. So let's hear how we ended up talking about fish and chips with the lovely Steve Aoki when he came over to the UK.
Peachy Podcast.
Yeah.
Cool.
Does Peachy mean anything to you?
Peachy's Peachy, like it's friendly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you had some really strong collabs last year.
Yeah.
Particularly Louis Tomlinson,
Yeah.
Lauren Uregi. I always say Haregi.
Haregi.
And of course, we have been fans of K-pop for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And you collabed with BTS.
Can you do any dances?
Oh my god, I wish. Hang on, I can't move that fast.
You have to. That's like part of the K-pop culture. Is you gotta like mimic all the dances and.
In my head, I can.
Yeah. Okay.
In reality, I can't.
Yeah, I
This
know.
isn't visual, so we can just pretend.
I linked up with BTS in LA. We just like vibed out, went to their house, we hung out, and we just talked about fashion. Really.
Really?
We just like we first was like, yo, they're like, yo, I love what you're wearing. It's like, yo, I love what you're wearing. We just compliment after compliment of like what clothes or shoes or whatever we're wearing. And then it went into like, okay, I gotta play you some records. I went to Korea, met up with the production team, and we sat down. We went over some ideas, and then they're like, we need a remix for the song called Mic Drop.
Yeah.
And I went back home and went to my studio. You know, I treated this song like a song I could rock out at my sets, and I can see like an American audience vibing to.
Oh yeah.
I
for
wanted
sure.
to get like the vibe where like it's gonna bang. It's
Yeah.
gonna the production's gonna make this bang out. So once I got the production to that like secret spot, that secret sound with like the, you know, just pitching their voice on as the melody, then the next step was getting an American voice on there. So we're going through like a long list of different people to jump on the record. And designer was definitely one of the top of the list. And he's like so hype. I was already imagining his performance on the record and him like just getting lit on stage.
It's such a perfect fit. I want to ask you quickly, because yesterday, or the
Yeah.
day before, you had it slip that you might be working on other projects with the boys.
Yeah,
Is that
see,
safe?
it's like sometimes I'm a little bit too, early on saying stuff because you just never know when things come
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Things
And these are
change.
like bigger projects, so these aren't, since it's like a remix I can just throw out there.
Oh, so it's not remixes, it's original music.
Yes, yeah. So I already said it, so I might as well just say it. Yeah, there is original music coming out.
Amazing.
And we're working on a few ideas, and it all starts with a few, and then we focus on one or two or whatever, and decide how we're going to release them. But they're both. The ideas are.
What was that, Steve? What was that? Thank you, Adele, for coming along for this podcast.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it so much, and
Yeah,
thank
thank
you for your beautiful V lines.
Thank you. And for your beautiful V-line. If you skipped the end, you missed what that means. But you can hear more of a lovely Adele on BBC Radio 1 at early hours. What are they, Adele?
Yeah, Monday to Friday, 4 till 6:30. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Next week, we are going to have some exclusives from the Brits. And make sure you subscribe for this Peachy podcast. And we'll see you again next week. Thanks for listening. This was just a quick video about the podcast and what we've been up to. If you have any questions about the podcast and how we go about recording it, or just anything you'd like to know, then leave them down below. We might do like a Q&A video about it or something. We haven't done a Q&A in a very long time. Spoiler, we have a new K-pop episode coming up on the podcast very soon. So names that I've put past the BBC to consider, I've got 7. Card, BTS again. Wait for developments, but please get involved in the comments and you can have a steer on what that podcast episode will entail. Hopefully by then BTS's album will have dropped. It would have dropped. Boys work so hard. No. If you have any questions about the process or anything like that, or anything in general, and you want us to do a Q&A, let us know in the comments, because we haven't done one in like 8 months.
Probably about 7 months.
Something like that. So let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you again very soon. Nikki's going to pierce my ear here in the next video, aren't you? No, I'm not doing that. Oh no, you're piercing yours. And no, I'm not doing that either. Bye.